okay, to be wowed, to have your mind blown, to stand in utter awe of all creation. And that's akin to the fear of the Lord. I mean, you say, wow, I am God's property rightfully. I didn't create myself. My parents did very little. They did what came instinctively. So, what's it all about? So, who should we rely on for answers? See, that's all I got. I would point to the scriptures. That's where I've gone. It doesn't mean I'm like a traditional preacher. I hear myself and I think, God, I could never imagine any of these TV preachers talking the way I do, using the term crap, I hope you're doing well in this crazy ass crap hole of a world. Can you imagine hearing a TV preacher preaching like that? But yet, I'm pretty much a traditionalist. I in agreement with, it's the word of God and it's all beneficial. Like a wedding, you bring out the old and the new, and it's like, wow. Then, you get into the New Testament. That's where it gets rich. The end of history is summed up there of this, not history, but of the history of this age, which has been like over 6,000 years now. That age, the money, where the money lovers rule the earth and the earthlings, and they get us to do their bidding. We're just fodder. We're collateral, sheep for the slaughter. They'll start wars for profit, walk away with the loot, the bundles, and you walk away with the casualties. And you get honorable soldiers going, having to deliver this news to families. Your son or daughter's been maimed badly or killed in this war, and it was a righteous cause. So we were fighting for freedom. Like the Confederate soldiers must have had to go tell their families, your son died for a good cause. 16-year-old boy, right? Maybe younger, right? As soon as they're willing to pick up a gun. Same thing going on today in Ukraine. And you're going to tell me, well, the South, no, they did the right thing. Is the North going to say that? The Yanks, are you associated with the Yankees? You're going to say, well, the dumbass South should have seen the writing on the wall. And, they should have surrendered long ago. Couldn't people say the same thing about Ukraine? Hundreds of thousands of lives could have been saved, the Yanks could have said. They should have seen the writing on the wall. We got more money. We could buy more armaments. Duh. That's the way it works. Might makes right. Not logic, not reason, might. Now, I'm not saying that, I didn't like Abraham Lincoln. I did, but, I'm always for nonviolent routes whenever possible. Violence should be used as an absolute, utter last resort. Utterly. I've evolved. When I was younger, my dad was kind of a intimidating character, I'll tell you. 6'2", Irish Indian. That's what he knew about his ancestry. Indian, not American Indian, but, American, North American, Canada, south of Canada, Toronto area, south of Toronto. There's a Port Credit, Mississauga, and that's where the name credit is derived from, that tribe of Indians, the Mississauga Indians. And his mother was an Irish immigrant. She died at childbirth when my dad was 8 years old. He was born in 1928. He joined the Marine Corps when he was, the Merchant Marine when he was 16. From there he got into the Marine Corps. He was on the battleship Iowa during the Second World War. And he was quite a guy, but tough guy. He was a boxer in the Marine Corps, and he got the reputation of being pretty badass, and he got the nickname of Nails Credit, so, not the kind of guy you wanted to mess with. He had a mean drill sergeant, was giving him a hard time. One time he told me he just jumped out of bed because the guy was yelling in his face, and he punched him. I don't even think he got in trouble for that. He might have gotten written up or something. I don't know. But he didn't have a dishonorable discharge. He did his 4-year stint. I guess it's 4 years. And Ended up contracting multiple sclerosis, so he went on, the disability. So most of my life it was pretty low income. But even with that VA pension, we were able to buy a house in Santa Cruz, California, there on the beautiful Monterey Bay for $8,000. Today, you'd be lucky to get that house for 800,000. Your mortgage would have been $50 a month. I mean, my dad was probably bringing in about minimum wage, which would have been clear, a gross $200 a month. So a $50 a month mortgage is something you could afford if all your other bills were, you know, cheap too. I mean, by today's standard, it was very cheap, but it was, things were dramatically cheaper. I mean, gas was, 15, 25 cents maybe. But how things have changed, right? But that house, that's to go from 8,000 to 800,000. That's 100 times. That is 10,000, a 10,000% increase. Do your own math. That's how. So that means your dollar an hour that you got for federal minimum wage job, okay, and you could afford to be a homeowner, live a middle class life on that income. Any job, any job at all. Everybody had dignity. You could be a homeowner, and then that dollar. Let's say that dollar that you're putting into your housing cost is worth 1 penny. 1 penny. How much more can they destroy the dollar by doing this? This to have all this talk about inflation as if it's a new phenomenon. It's been gradually happening my whole freaking life. But now it's getting some, now we're not too sure we like it. Although shareholders, they all benefit. Some people benefit from inflation, right? While others pay that tab. It's a tax. It's a tax on the poor. That's how they get the poor to pay the tax. Because the rich think they're smarter, and they sure as hell don't want to pay the tax, right? I mean, duh. Put two and two together, so you see how they get people to pay it. But no, this country's been going downhill my whole life since the assassination of JFK. He was in the process of getting rid of, dismantling the Federal Reserve. He was already circulating a new dollar, a dollar that had been used before called a silver certificate, silver note, looked just about like a dollar. And, the Federal Reserve was going to be history. Now we're $30 trillion in debt. While we're creating more and more billionaires, the debt keeps growing, and you wonder why we have inflation, why they're debasing the money, why they're diluting the money. You understand? Same thing. Because when you dilute it, right, it goes further. Why don't they care? Why aren't they shooting themselves in the foot? Well, ultimately they are, because they think they're smarter, but they're idiots. They're possessed by demons. I mean, they're madmen that are running the show. That's why it's a crazy-ass world. It's their policies that are in effect everywhere in your local community. You see, it's all emanating from on high, those that control the purse strings in the Congress and the Senate, the executive, whoever is occupying. It's like saying the Pope is the Antichrist, the Pope du jour of the day. And then you got the Federal Reserve in there printing the money. And where's the Federal Labor Department? They could have prevented any inflation. We could have had deflation the whole way, where your money just kept going up in worth. You could live a higher and higher standard of living, live in a nicer and nicer house, buy more and more houses, just let your friends, family live in whatever. I mean, we can only live in one place at a time, right? So we could have houses coming out our yin-yang anywhere we want to live in the world at any time. We could do it. We could have that right now. There's a glut of housing out there. You wouldn't know it. But it's like diamonds. You see, if you get a group of investors that collude, it's silent collusion, because nobody has to say anything. We all know which side our bread is buttered on. We all have an interest in it. Let's just be honest. So we're invested in real estate in one way or another, even if it's the lenders. You understand? The more money they lend, the more profit they make. Do you get how this works? How they collude silently together to raise your cost of living, housing, to debase your housing dollar, and then call it a good thing on the MSM, the mainstream media. Oh, it's the value. Well, let them try that with a carton of eggs, right? Hey, the value of your eggs went up. Well, it's good for the egg investors. Shut up. It's good for somebody to shut up. Stop being negative. You're such a pessimist. You're so negative. Right? Did I nail it? It's sick, you see, and we don't know. Everybody's confused. They lack confidence and they don't know how to think. Yeah, this guy, I like him and I want to be like him. He's got a lot of money. He's got rental properties. He's rich or rich dad. You're just a negative Nelly and you're a poor dad. Yeah, I've heard it all. Well, look, I'm not a stupid man. Everything I've ever attempted to learn, endeavored to learn, I've been able to learn the crap out of. Let's put it that way. I scored so high on my real estate exam, they wouldn't even show me the results, which tells me, they didn't want it to go to my head, but it was 100%, I know. I had it in rote memory. I could have practically done it in my sleep. I just went over the answers over and over. I knew them, and I can do that. I've been able to do it with math, any kind of math I've ever wanted to learn. Yeah, I can stumble for a while. I might say, why is it like that? Why do you do that? Why do you flip a fraction in order to divide it, or whatever the case may be? I mean, math gets fuzzy. If you don't, it's not like riding a bicycle. Okay, you can get a little fuzzy. You can forget stuff. But I mean, I got to imagine it's like that for anybody. No matter how smart you are, how high your IQ, you're going to have to get brushed up on your calculus. If you learn the crap out of it, you might need to relearn the crap out of it just to bring it all back and get it fresh in your head. But no, I'm not a stupid man. And I know what I'm talking about. When it comes to economic stuff, man, I mean, if you read Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations, you'll know what I know. And you know what? It's kind of like I tell people the Bible. I say, you could sum up the Bible in this. If you just, all you gain from learning the law, the 10 Commandments and all this, and the prophets, what the prophets had to teach and preach and tell, inform people. And if you just walked away with this, that if you love God above everything else, because God gave you life and God can save you life and put you in a vastly better world with a vastly better body, that's why you put God first, honor God above everything else, love God above everything else with your whole heart, mind, all your strength, right? All your devotion, loyalty is above, first and foremost, to the one that owns you rightfully, the Creator God Almighty, that values you more than anybody else ever could combined. That's right. That's the first rule, the first bit of advice that Christ gave us, the first commandment. And then the second one fell right into place. By default, you will love your fellow man as yourself. Or if you don't love yourself, you like your kids. Or your best friend, somebody you really like. You're going to love them that way. And you're going to care about them. Because if you love somebody, you care deeply. And a lot of times you'll die for them. That's power. I mean, that's as powerful as love it gets, right? I mean, that's all a person has to give. It's as noble as it gets, right? Give your own life. And Christ showed that by dying for us. And the promises of the world of tomorrow is a beautiful thing. But, we got to get off the junk. The junk is the money. I'm telling you. But if you're going to read Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations, get this edition, okay? Don't get any other one. Get this one. It's readable. It's fun. If you care, you'll hit tidbits all through the book. And I marked one whole book, the first book I read, and I loaned it to my daughter, and she ended up getting rid of it, giving it away or something. And but I wish I had kept that book because I had highlighted all the spots that I really thought were nuggets of value. Adam Smith, I mean, the world's greatest economist. But if you walked away from this book with one bit of knowledge, it would be this, that labor, blue collar, often uneducated, often what they call unskilled, but still, I mean, it's nothing that any monkey could ever learn. unskilled labor, is every nation's single greatest asset, single greatest resource. So you got to understand things from the way they really are, and then look at the way they are, you know. The way they really are, that's the way God would have it. Fair. Okay, fairness is what it all comes down to. That's what I object to so vociferously, and you should too. I'm anti